Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm reviewing all of Elton John's studio albums, and today I'm looking at his 2004 release Peachtree Road. This was Elton's 27th studio album. It followed on from Songs from the West Coast and it preceded Captain and the Kid. This turned out to be one of Elton's lowest selling contemporary albums. It reached number 21 in the UK and number 17 in the US. And interestingly, it has two different covers. We've got this railroad crossing here in Atlanta. We've also got the picture of Elton as sort of a sketch of him as a cowboy. Both of them pretty classy album covers, actually. Elton was the sole producer on this album, so this is all his work exactly as he intended. We've got Davy Johnson on guitars, Nigel Olsson on drums, Guy Babylon on programming and orchestra. So some familiar faces involved in this. Let's take a look at the booklet. Now, I like the cover there. That sort of bleak picture reminds me a little of Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska cover in a way. Inside here we have sort of pictures of a broken down shop there, some urban decay. All of these were done by a London photographer, and they're pretty good pictures actually. Here we have the introduction to the tracks. Now, big criticism, I'm afraid. Look, we're going through here, we're seeing some good pictures, but where are the lyrics? The lyrics are not here at all, and that's really disappointing. So what sort of reception did it get? Well, AllMusic gave it 4 out of 5, calling it sturdy and satisfying, whereas Entertainment Weekly only marked it 6 out of 10. The whole thing's got a sort of reflective country feel to it, and in that way sort of the tracks fit together very well. Elton said he was tired of doing uneven records where there's kind of pressure on him to turn out hits. So this one focuses on his songs rather than on his hits. So he's put together everything on this album which he wants to be there. He's not bothered particularly if there's a big hit amongst them. So let's have a look at the first track. The first song is Weight of the World. It's about Elton. How do we know that? Because Elton performed 9 or 10 of these songs in a concert live, and he gave little introductions to each one. I'll do a link to that below, but that does put a lot of the songs in perspective for us. This is about finding contentment in life. It's about having been through some difficult experiences, but reaching that stage where you're happy with where you are and you can then look back. He says in the song, "I'm amazed I'm still around with the weight of the world off my back." And in a way, he's writing with the weight of the world off his back because he's not under that pressure anymore. He's reached a position in an industry when he can do what he wants, he can record what he wants, put what songs he likes out there. He's happy to see a sunset, for instance. Simple things are giving him pleasure now. The bad times were when the weight of the world weighed too much, and that's no longer the case. Pretty decent opener, this one. A nice tight arrangement, a fine melody, enjoyable song. I'm going to rate this as a good one and give it a 6 out of 10. Track number 2 is Porch Swing in Tupelo, which is about Elvis Presley. Bernie went to Tupelo and he sat where Elvis Presley sat on this porch swing, looking out from it. Sitting there, imagining Elvis being there. It's got a pleasant swing to this one, a gospel choir backing. And it's a ballad, but it's got that nice, neat swing to it. So it's quite a comfortable listen here. We've got lyrics like, "I guess he sat there." So I suppose Elton and Bernie are thinking back, reflecting on one of their heroes, one of the landmark people of the 20th century, certainly in popular music. I think this is a good track again. I'm going to give it another 6. Track number 3 is Answer in the Sky, and Elton said this is about faith and hope. There's a slight Philadelphia freedom feel to the start of this one, and the kind of message that comes out, it's a sort of generally positive message, a little bit like healing hands. Sometimes you'll find an answer in the sky. Well, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that's pretty open, isn't it, for you to sort of interpret in the way you want to. So it's not explicitly sort of a faith message, but it's kind of about positive thinking, I suppose. There's a nice gospel choir backing to this. Again, that gospel choir performs in that concert with Elton. A little bit like If the River Can Bend, I suppose, from the Big Picture album, this one as well. It's another good listen, fairly good for me. I'm going to give it 5 marks. Track 4, Turn the Lights Out When You Leave. This was a single for Elton. He's described it as an old type country song. It's about a love affair that's gone wrong. And kind of the message is, if it's gone wrong, just go if you need to. Turn the lights out when you leave. We'll draw a line under this. Now, there's a great hook on the refrain here. It's a delightful ballad with nice lyrics from Bernie. And you can kind of imagine Ray Charles singing this in kind of his sort of country persona. So, pretty classy track, this one. I'm rating it very good, giving it 7. Track 5 is My Elusive Drug. Elton has called this one my Nina Simone moment and said it's about his drug addiction and finding someone he loves. He says it was an easy song to write, and you can see that, can't you, because it's a very true lyric for him, and when he sees that, perhaps he can think immediately of the mood of the song he's looking for. It's kind of a bluesy soul feel to this. Interesting opening line, which goes from a major feeling to a minor feeling very quickly, but very effectively. He seems to really enjoy singing this. Lines like, there were times I was crazy, couldn't handle the life. Again, we get that sense of looking back, things not going wrong, but now finding a better place in life. It's a passionate delivery. It's a very personal song for him. I rate this as a very good song for him. I'm going to give it 7 marks. Track number 6 is They Call Her the Cat, and Elton says this is the only rock and roll track on the album, and he said it's about somebody getting a sex change. There's a real fun beat on this, a real smooth feel through the verse and into the refrain. David Johnson plays 2 different guitars on stage not at the same time, but during the song. If you watch the concert version of this, somebody comes on, takes one off, and he puts another one on straight away. Kind of can compare this to that track, The Power, that Elton recorded with Little Richard, actually, back on his Duets album. It's got the same sort of feel about it. Very pleasant to listen to. Again, this one, I'm going to rate it as a good track and give it 6. Well, that's the end of the first half, I suppose. 665, 776, pretty strong side of vinyl, actually. 37 marks is a pretty good score. Let's see how the second half fares. Track 7 is called Freaks in Love, and Elton has said this is for all of us, because 99% of us aren't perfect, we're freaks. Well, the freaks word has a little bit of sort of baggage with it, doesn't it? And whether that's a very nice word to use, it could certainly be used as an insult, but Elton's presenting a positive message here on this song, which is a gentle swinger. It's got lines like, me and you, we're not that pretty, and it's got lines like, we're on the outside looking in. So there's a sense of alienation there because we're not perfect. There's some nice organ work on here, giving this bluesy feel. I find it a satisfying song, and it's a good subject to tackle, isn't it? Giving a really sort of positive message to people that, no matter what you're like, you've still got value as a person. And that's very much what Elton is hoping to say here, perhaps. Anyway, I think it's a fairly good track, so I'm going to give it 5 marks. Track number 8 is All That I'm Allowed, brackets, I'm Thankful, another single from the album. And Elton talks here about the choir bringing humility and joy to the session when he recorded this late at night. He was very impressed with them. This is one that's very popular with fans. I know a lot of people put it in their fantasy Elton dream concert. A lot of people like this one of his best late tracks. There's a very strong verse with the piano. Elton saying things like, I see hope in every cloud. He's sort of saying, I've tried my best and I'm thankful, I'm grateful for all that life has given me. And the repetition of the word thankful with different harmonies works really well here. Very inventive and very nice to listen to. This is a good summary, isn't it, of Elton's career and his philosophy, and one of his best later tracks. I'm going to rate it as a very good one and give it 7 marks out of 10. Track 9 is I Stop and I Breathe. Now, this is one he didn't do in his live concert of the tracks from this album. There's a piano intro to this. Elton's voice is sounding good, isn't it? Especially on this track. There's lots of chord changes on this one. It's very intricate and it's a little bit hard to follow. If you said now, can you sing I Stop and I Breathe? I'm not sure I could. And the verse is maybe slightly stronger than the refrain on this, and it's not quite so memorable. The message of the song, well, we're still okay. We've turned it all around. Again, it's positive, lots of positive messages on this album, but I would say not one of the strongest tracks on here. I'd say slightly below average this one, and give it 3 marks. Track number 10 is an interesting lyric by Bernie. The song's called Too Many Tears. Now here he mentions several tragic events, the death of John F. Kennedy and the death of Martin Luther King are both sort of referred to in this song with kind of a finger pointing at the sky. You know, how did you allow this? Too many tears have been cried. So it's about these tragic events, but it's also about being optimistic and not being weighed down by bad happenings. And again, that's a theme that's going through this album, isn't it? The melody I find slightly ordinary, this one, not especially as good as perhaps some of the other tracks on the album. And does it quite suit the mood of the lyrics? Is it a little bit too jaunty for that? I don't know. See what you think. I reckon it's an average song. I'm going to give it 4 marks. Track 11 is It's Getting Dark in Here. Elton's voice again sounding very good on this track. There's a decent verse here, a fairly sort of neat melody for the refrain. I'm just wondering whether this is different enough to be distinctive, this. What's it about? It's about fear of the outside world, trying to get back there, but it's not working. Elton sings, I'm no coward, but I'm not that brave. Maybe somebody's withdrawn a bit from the world and they're struggling to get back out there and finding a bit of darkness. So again, decent message here, but maybe not quite as strong a setting as some of the other tracks on the album. I'm going to say fairly good and give it 5 marks. The final track, track number 12, is I Can't Keep This From You. This has got a gentle opening, conversational lyrics. Someone has a secret. They can't keep this love a secret, so that's the secret. The refrain is a bit like, this is a loose comparison, but it's a little bit like Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. That sort of progression, I think, obviously not quite as strong as Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, but it is strong, I think. It's a good pop song, this one. Maybe not a classic, but a pleasant listen, I think, this one. I'm going to give it another 5 marks out of 10. So that second set of 6 tracks scores 5, 7, 3, 4, 5, 5. That's 29 marks. Not quite as strong as the first set, but still pretty decent. The overall total for 12 tracks is 63 marks, giving us an average of 5.25 marks per track. Now, there are some bonus tracks for me to look at, and there are plenty of B-sides for me to look at as well. Quite a lot, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover those in a separate video, along with some of your comments on this album. So let's have a look at the spreadsheet. Now, I've rated something like 370 Elton John songs now. Where do songs from this album come in? Well, they come in the 7s. So let's have a look at the 7s now. And there's our new entries. Turn the Lights Out When You Leave, My Elusive Drug, and All the Time Allowed, I'm Thankful. The 7s aren't in order there, by the way. They're just the order I've put them in. So I will rank the 7s at a later stage. And then coming down the charts, there's nothing really too low here. The only one I rated with a 3 was that I Stop and I Breathe. Look at all these tracks I've rated now. So I Stop and I Breathe comes in there. That's it there. And still right down the bottom there with 0, just those 2 tracks, Solar Prestige and Passengers. So where does this album fit in with all my rated Elton albums now? Well, let's have a look, see that 5.25. There it is. It's coming in there at number 20, just below Ice on Fire and just ahead of the Lockdown Sessions. How many have I done now? Well, we've done 28 albums so far. What's my favourite moment on this album? Well, I might go for the first line of My Elusive Drug, where Elton switches between that major and minor. That's a very powerful moment in that. I suppose the other favourite moment would be the thankfuls in All the Time Allowed. Again, a beautiful moment of that song. Least favourite moment, I think I've got to say, some of those key changes in I Stop and I Breathe. They don't sit too well with me, those, although maybe I need to give a bit more time to that song. So I've had my say, now it's time for you. Which is your favourite track on this album? What do you think of my ratings? Feel free to disagree. Let's get a conversation going about it, and I'll report back on your comments when I look at the B-sides. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, we're still standing.